Aloha! Welcome to our YouTube channel, Lahaina Tree of Life. Today we are going to discuss the history of the Hawaiian Islands and the Hawaiian Natives. And we're going to bring us up to current day, the Lahaina fires on August 8th. I'll compare how today's socio-political and socio-economical conflicts tie back to the first Western explorers in the 1800s. Just over 1,000 years ago, Hawaii was settled by Pacific Islanders from French Polynesia. These are comprised of Samoans, Fijians, and Tahitians. These are the people known today as Native Hawaiians. For almost 800 years, the Hawaiian Islands were ruled by tribal chieftains with little to no interaction with Western explorers. This changed when Captain Cook anchored his ship off the island of Kauai at the mouth of the Waimea River. Cook explored the Hawaiian Islands, made his last stop off the Kona coast in the Big Island. Cook and his men stopped in Kona and stayed for over a month, wearing out their welcome and committing many transgressions against the Hawaiians and their gods. Captain Cook and his crew had many altercations with the Hawaiians, even killing one of the lower tribal chieftains. The violence got worse over time, and eventually Captain Cook took an armed marine detachment ashore to retrieve a small cutter the Hawaiians had stolen from Captain Cook's ship in the middle of the night. During this attempt to reclaim the small cutter, apparently Cook took a shot at a Hawaiian chieftain. The Hawaiian chieftain blocked the lead ball shot with his shield, and then the Hawaiian lived, and then he attacked Cook with his club, knocked him out, and as he knocked him out, all the warriors that were there surrounded Cook, and they hacked and mutilated his lifeless body. Cook's sailors quickly loaded their ships, sailed out of Kona, never to return. After Cook's crew returned to England with their lavish tales of a tropical paradise, fellow Britons and Europeans and missionaries set sail to explore the islands. The ensuing arrival of Caucasians and their diseases in Hawaii was eerily similar to the discovery of the Americas and the spread of smallpox, measles, tuberculosis, syphilis, and other common diseases among the Native Americans. Over time, diseases spread, and the Native Hawaiians, like Native Americans, had no immunity or modern medicine, and their population dwindled. When Cook arrived in Hawaii, the Hawaiian population was estimated between 400,000 and 1 million. Obviously, the records were not very well kept. Within 100 years, though, of Captain Cook's arrival in Hawaii, the Native Hawaiian population had been decimated, reducing the Hawaiian population by more than 90%. By 1900, there were only 40,000 documented Hawaiian natives that remained. The missionaries were the first to force Hawaiians to subjugate themselves and convert to Christianity. The American, British, and European businessmen brought their trade to the islands, exploiting the Hawaiian people for cheap labor and seizing their land for crops. King Kamehameha I tried to keep a peaceful relationship with the foreigners, but over time, the increase in the foreign population and the exploitation of Native Hawaiians by foreigners created great tension and conflict between the Native Hawaiians and the foreigners. In the late 1880s, the kingdom was ruled by Queen Liliuokalani. The queen was loved by her people, and many of the Americans that were living in Hawaii loved the queen as well. She was very popular. However, a small group of businessmen from the United States, accompanied by 6 U.S. citizens that were living in Hawaii and had Hawaiian residency, joined together and created a secret committee with a plan to annex Hawaii. This group of men called their organization the Committee of Safety. Just calling themselves that is pretty funny. The Committee of Safety put the island under martial law, demanded the Queen abdicate her throne, and this power grab was orchestrated by Henry Cooper, an American that was leading the Committee of Safety. Cooper had drafted a proclamation and read this proclamation aloud, deposing Queen Liliuokalani of her throne and abolishing the Hawaiian Monarchy. Queen Liliuokalani abdicated the throne without a fight because she knew that it would result in a great loss of life and defeat for the Hawaiian people. The Committee of Safety asked Sanford Dole to be the first president of the Hawaiian Provisional Government. Dole accepted and was the first president serving in the Hawaiian Provisional Government, obviously. The U.S. president at the time, Grover Cleveland, opposed the coup and the request for annexing Hawaii. So it wasn't until 1897, when William McKinley was sworn in as the U.S. president, that McKinley ratified a treaty to annex the Hawaiian Islands. That annexation officially occurred on July 4th of 1989. Well, now that we're caught up on the discovery of Hawaii and the arrest and abdication of the monarch, the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, we can discuss the more recent history leading up to today's current events. In the latter part of the 20th century, Native Hawaiians became more vocal about the haole presence. Haole is their derogatory term used to describe or label any non-native Hawaiians, foreigners. So most people that don't live in Hawaii and are not native are haoles. This derogatory term and use of haole to identify the non-natives probably comes from the Americans that came to Hawaii and annexed Hawaii. Today there's an organized resistance to the U.S. and Hawaiian government. The organization identifies itself as a sovereign nation of Hawaii. In 1993, which was the 100th anniversary of the 1893 coup d'etat, the sovereign nation of Hawaii obtained a formal apology from the U.S. government for the illegal invasion and annexation of Hawaii. This was just a sentimental gesture. It had no teeth, and it was drafted and signed by President Clinton. The current resistance and resentment towards haoles is understandable. It is no different than when Native Americans were thrown off their lands and pushed onto reservations. As the Hawaiian government has evolved over the last 70 years, mainlanders, which they call haoles, and foreigners, mostly East Asian, have moved to the islands and bought up the land and housing at a rapid pace and at exorbitant prices. As time goes on, the mainland influence becomes more and more dominant, and traditional Hawaiian culture is pushed out. The Hawaiians wanted to self-govern and return to their communal way of life without foreign influence. The U.S. government is seen as an occupier and an oppressor. The overwhelming population of non-native Hawaiians in politics and participation in the government has resulted in a very small minority of voters, native Hawaiian voters, that is, less than 20% of Hawaii's population as native Hawaiians are native Hawaiians. 2022 elections for the governor of Hawaii, only 413,262 votes were cast out of 861,358 potential voters. So less than half of their voters showed up and voted for the governor. There's been a constant flow of politicians promising to stand up for the Hawaiian people against wealthy and foreign occupation. But like most politicians, these promises are nothing more than lip service. Governor after governor, senator after senator, the people have trusted politicians to improve their quality of life, limit non-Hawaiian property sales and development. But in the end, just the opposite keeps happening. More and more land is developed by big corporations to become resorts and high-end real estate. Native Hawaiians become poorer and poorer and find it impossible to survive without some form of government assistance. This creates a never-ending cycle of poverty and homelessness, much like other liberal cities in the United States. Hawaii's poverty level rose from 9% in 2018 to 15% in 2022. In just 4 years, it almost doubled. The hardest hit in this group were Native Hawaiians, surprisingly. 27% of Native Hawaiians are below the United States $70,000 per household poverty level threshold. That's more than 100,000 Native Hawaiians living in poverty. These are the people who lived here for centuries and owned that land. There are 1.4 million people living in Hawaii, and only 6% of those 1.4 million are 100% Native Hawaiian. There are another 200,000 part Hawaiian descendants that make up the 300,000 native Hawaiians living in Hawaii and around the world. Almost 1 million non-Hawaiians have moved to the Hawaiian Islands, and some Hawaiians say the outsiders have pushed the native Hawaiians off their land, and over the last 50 years, the population of non-Hawaiians has increased from 800,000 to 1.5 million. Almost doubled and nearly 4 times the number of Hawaiians. The U.S. has a long history of using emergency proclamations to violate a citizen body of their individual rights, similar to how the governor of Hawaii currently, within his first year in office, proclaimed a state of emergency because of a housing shortage. The governor then proceeded to issue multiple proclamations giving him absolute power, suspending Hawaii state law. I'll go into this in further detail in the next video. The use of the emergency powers by politicians has become one of the most abused powers in this century, and it is the primary tool of tyrants.
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing. I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost.
Hey, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you sticking around. Please subscribe, like the video, share, turn on notifications. We'll be following up the next video starting with the fires on August 8th, and we'll continue a series covering the Lahaina fires and the progress till today. Hui ho. Well, if you stuck around to the end, I'll play a little YouTube video here and music for you. It's a tribute to Lahaina done by Eric West.